What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several things you might want to do before Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 4 starts. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, comment down below what change you're looking forward to most next season, and if you guys would like to use my creator code in the shop when getting Season 4's Battle Pass or anything else, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So I pretty much always make one of these videos towards the end of a Fortnite season because I know this is a time where a lot of people are kind of burnt out on the game somewhat, not having as much fun and just looking forward to the next season anyway. So by doing a lot of these things, you're probably going to enjoy the time like from now until Season 4 a bit more. And this is also something that could help you play better when Season 4 does inevitably release. The first thing is just going to be to try different weapons and to try different weapon types. So we rarely know exactly what will change in the loot pool season to season, but there's usually some overlap of like returning weapons from the previous season, as well as new weapons added, and then, you know, some weapons from the previous season removed to make room for some of the newer weapons. Also, items that are heavily involved within the theme of a season typically only are in that season. So it wouldn't be surprising to me at all to see the hero items from this season vaulted next season. So that's going to be the Mist Cape, the Mist Gloves, the Storm Beast Pom-Poms, the Kill Switch revolvers, the scanner device, and the base boost gloves. I expect all of those to leave. And if you are someone who's been hard relying on items like the Storm Beast or the bird gloves this season, and that's like the only way you really get eliminations, trying to use some of the regular weapons again the last few days of the season could really help you when we go back to like likely a more regular weapon meta in Season 4. Even if the weapons are different next season, they're likely going to be more similar to like the regular weapons we have in the loot pool now than like the Storm Beast or the bird gloves. So like the Spire AR might not be there, right? But going from the Spire AR to whatever the new AR is isn't as big of a jump as going from like the bird gloves to the new AR. And then the same is true with shotguns. Like the Sentinel pump might be vaulted. We actually do know there will be a new AR and a new shotgun next season, as they were featured in art Fortnite themselves posted. So the Sentinel pump might be gone, but using the Sentinel pump these final few days and getting used to use a shotgun again, you're probably going to be able to adapt to the new shotgun easier than going just straight from like bird gloves for the past few weeks to, you know, using a shotgun again. A lot of the skill between like using regular weapons like ARs and shotguns, a lot of that transfers from weapon to weapon, even if there are minor differences between the weapons themselves that you do need to adjust to. So just trying to use different weapon types can really help. One thing I've also talked about a lot with this in the past is like when we have red dot ARs that dominate the meta, trying to use some of the third person ones towards the end of a season can kind of help you adapt if there was no red dot ARs. And that actually ended up happening in Season 3. We went from having the Hollow Twister AR, or actually we went from having the Star Wars, I forget the name of it, but we had a red dot AR in the Star Wars season, and then we went to just no red dot ARs in the loot pool this season, and that was something that a lot of people struggled to adjust to. So just being competent with a lot of the different weapons can go a long way. And then the same is true with mobility items, and this is something that's kind of rough right now because a lot of the mobility items this season are just those superhero items that I said are going to be vaulted. But if you're someone who's been playing for a while, if we get shockwaves back into the meta, or, you know, something similar to a previous mobility item we've had, you're probably able to adapt somewhat easily versus someone who, you know, let's say you've only used the Surf Cube this season, or you've only used the Cape. If we get something similar to the base boost gloves, or we get shockwaves, not being as competent with those other mobility items is something that might make it a bit harder for you to adjust to the new season. This is something that's really hard to say though, because the mobility can change so much season to season. But if you are someone who's been playing for a while, you've probably dealt with this several times. And if you haven't been playing for a while, trying to use some different mobility than what you've been used to, and also maybe playing some of the other game modes, which we'll get to in a moment, is something that could help you play better when Season 4 does inevitably come. And then the same is going to be true with landing spots. This is something where when a new season comes, we don't really know what will change on the map. As of right now, it's kind of rumored and expected that a lot of the new spots are going to be somewhat towards like the center of the map. But even if a spot you like doesn't end up changing, it's still worthwhile to learn different landing spots because the value of certain locations changes. Like let's take Supernova for Academy, for example. This is a POI that's really high value this season because it has a lot of loot, it has a lot of the hero item spawns, and it has a lot of the hero crates. Those crates probably aren't going to be there next season. The hero items probably aren't going to be there next season. So Supernova Academy, which is an like S tier POI right now, might not be that great next season. And so the POI itself might be there, but you might want to end up going somewhere else. So just being familiar with different areas on the map can really help. Even if a location does end up changing, knowing the area around it can benefit you. So like Brutal Boxcars is expected to change next season, but if you're familiar with kind of that middle map area, whatever they put there, it's probably going to be easier for you to learn, the surrounding area. So if there's just any POIs you haven't like not really gone to at all, or you've only been really going to one this season, I think branching out will help you if your spot does just straight up get removed. If you've only been landing at Brutal Boxcars this entire chapter, learn somewhere else because it's very likely to change next season. But also, even if the spots you like stay there, they might not be as good next season. So just learning different areas on the map is something that could really benefit you. And it's something that can make these final few days more fun. And that's something I kind of talked about at the start of the video. If you've been playing every day since the season started, you're probably somewhat burnt out on it, especially if you play the same way every match. So trying some different weapons can make it more fun. Trying some different POIs can make it more fun and different for these final few days, but also help you when Season 4 does come if, your playstyle isn't really that useful next season, or the playstyle you've kind of fallen into. The next change is going to be to potentially change some settings. Now, this is not a guarantee. If you feel comfortable with whatever settings you have and you enjoy them, that's great. Don't change a thing. But if you're someone who, like, that your sensitivity isn't the greatest, like maybe it's too slow or it's too fast and you don't really have control, but you've just kind of been putting off changing it, or the same is true with keybinds. If your keybinds are not great, but, you just haven't felt like changing it, now might be a decent time to do that because you give yourself a few days before the season drops to really adjust. And this is, again, something that can make these final few days a bit less monotonous and a bit more fun because you'll see your improvement, game to game, day to day with those new settings as you adjust to it. And that is something that can make you a better player in the long run. A lot of times with settings changes, especially if you have like default settings or just like really non-optimal settings, you might take a step or two backwards to take several forwards in the long run. So towards the end of a season is a time where I would maybe consider changing settings if I knew there was a problem with mine or something that I knew I wanted to change. The next thing is just going to be to try other game modes, and this is something that I know my audience seems to be mainly just BR and BR only, but again, if you're getting a bit burnt out with this current loot pool and the current way things go, trying to play some reload for these final few days, or maybe even blitz, is something that can freshen the game up, gives you something different to play, but also you expose yourself to different items and different mobility items, especially like reload is often shockwave and grapple dominated, and if you never got the hang of either of those items, playing a bit of reload these final few days and learning how to use shockwaves effectively in fights is something that could really benefit you. Also, reload and blitz have much less downtime between fights, and if you do want to improve at fighting, both of these game modes can be quite good. Blitz has an absurd amount of AI in it, but with the new Chaos mode, there's less AI and more real people, or sometimes entirely real people in the lobby. So grinding Blitz Chaos is something that I think could improve your skill at fighting somewhat quick because of how fast and how quick paced the lobbies are. And if they are, entire human lobbies, you could get in some decent practice in that time. Creative mode, or any sort of creative deathmatch, is also something that could help you learn different items, different weapons, and get into fights with more real players and get into fights with less downtime to the point where you can improve your fighting much faster than just playing BR. Like, BR is my favorite game mode by far, but the time efficiency on fights is just really bad. Like, the length of time of a match compared to the amount of fights the average player gets is just not great. Reload has better efficiency in terms of, time spent to fights. Blitz has better efficiency, and then also creative has much better efficiency. So if you do want to improve your fighting, playing some of those other game modes can help a lot. And as I said, be something different for these final few days. And then the final thing is just going to be to potentially take a break if you are someone who's very burnt out on the game. This is something that maybe when you come back, you'll be a bit worse at the game, but you'll probably enjoy the game a bit more than if you force yourself to just keep playing it for these final few days. Especially if you are someone who's very, very burnt out. I see this a lot in the community where someone's burnt out. I've been there myself. they force themselves to keep playing, and then, you know, the new season comes and they're just not even happy with it because they're so burnt out. I was there in chapter 2 season 2 going into chapter 2 season 3, and I really didn't even give that season a chance because of how burnt out I was on the game. I quit like 2 or 3 days in and then didn't play for the remainder of chapter 2. So if you are someone who is very, very burnt out and none of these other things sound appealing to you, just taking a break from the game for the next few days until season 4 drops, you might come back a bit rusty, but you'll probably enjoy playing a lot more. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.